A sleek black sedan glided through the bustling city streets. Its driver, a poised, well-dressed black woman on her way to a community event. But her journey took an unexpected turn when flashing red and blue lights appeared in her rearview mirror. Officer Tim Hargrove, notorious for his harsh treatment of minorities, stepped out of his patrol car with an air of authority. As he approached the driver's window, his gaze fixed on the luxury car, his preconceived notions took hold. "Ma'am, this vehicle looks out of place. Is it yours?" he questioned, his tone laced with suspicion. The woman, calm yet firm, replied, "Yes, it is. Is there a reason you pulled me over?" But the officer wasn't convinced. He accused her of stealing the car, demanding proof of ownership. His voice grew harsher, his demeanor more intimidating, oblivious to the fact that he wasn't speaking to an ordinary driver. What followed next would not only expose his bias but leave everyone watching utterly speechless. Let us know where you are watching from in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more powerful and inspiring stories. The city was alive with its usual hum of traffic and distant chatter, yet there was an air of division that lingered beneath its surface. This was a place where biases often dictated interactions, even in seemingly ordinary situations. Driving through the heart of this bustling metropolis was Judge Erica Matthews, a distinguished black woman in her mid-40s. Erica had spent years earning her reputation as a brilliant and fair judge, known for her unwavering dedication to justice. Her elegant demeanor and confident smile reflected the strength she carried within. On this particular day, Erica was on her way to a charity event supporting underprivileged children, a cause she deeply cared about. Erica's life had not been easy. Coming from a modest background, she worked tirelessly to rise through the ranks of law school and earn her place in the courtroom. She was a proud role model, not just for her community, but for her teenage daughter, Maya, who often admired her mother's resilience. Erica's success symbolized hope and empowerment, showing that hard work and integrity could overcome even the toughest challenges. Meanwhile, Officer Tim Hargrove, a white police officer in his late 30s, patrolled the streets with a different outlook. Known among his peers for his aggressive approach, Tim had developed a reputation for targeting minorities. He believed in profiling as a means of enforcing the law, ignoring the harm his actions caused to the very communities he was sworn to protect. Tim's authoritative stance and judgmental demeanor often created unnecessary tension during his interactions. As fate would have it, their paths would cross in a moment that would shake the very foundation of prejudice and justice. Erica, driving her black luxury sedan, unknowingly became the target of Tim's misguided suspicions. As Erica's car approached a traffic light, Tim's patrol car trailed behind. The sleek vehicle, coupled with Erica's poised appearance, seemed out of place in Tim's mind. To him, the driver of such a car must have done something to warrant suspicion. He decided to pull her over, setting the stage for a confrontation that would test both character and integrity. Erica, unaware of the unfolding scenario, maintained her usual calm as the flashing lights signaled her to stop. She pulled over with a composed demeanor, prepared to handle whatever came her way. The interaction that followed would not only challenge Tim's deep-seated biases, but also serve as a powerful reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and justice always finds a way to prevail. Judge Erica Matthews drove calmly through the busy streets in her black luxury sedan. The sun streamed through her windows, and she felt a sense of satisfaction about the charity event she was heading to. As she waited at a traffic light, she noticed the reflection of flashing blue lights in her rearview mirror. A police car was signaling her to pull over. She took a deep breath, puzzled by the sudden stop. She had not violated any traffic rules and was sure her car registration and insurance were up to date. Still, she complied, pulling her car to the side of the road. Erica was used to dealing with tense situations in her courtroom, but this felt different. Officer Tim Hargrove stepped out of his patrol car, adjusting his belt and squinting at Erica's vehicle. His demeanor was stern, and his stride was confident, almost arrogant. He tapped on her window with his flashlight. Erica rolled it down and greeted him politely. "License and registration," Tim barked, without a hint of courtesy. "May I know why I'm being stopped, officer?" Erica asked, maintaining her calm but firm tone. Tim's gaze narrowed as he glanced over her and then at the car's interior. "This car looks a little too nice for someone like you. Do you own it?" The question hit Erica like a slap. It wasn't just a question about the car. It was an insinuation about her identity, her worth. She paused briefly, then replied, "Yes, officer, I do. Here are my documents." She handed over her driver's license and registration. Tim glanced at the documents, but his skepticism didn't waver. "Where are you headed in such a hurry?" he asked. "I'm on my way to a charity event," Erica responded, her voice unwavering. Tim smirked, a hint of condescension in his tone. "Charity, huh? Seems like a fancy car for someone doing charity work." The comments stung, but Erica's composure remained intact. She had faced subtle and overt biases throughout her life and career, and she knew better than to let this moment provoke her. "Is there a specific reason for this stop, officer?" she asked again, her tone even. Tim ignored her question and stepped back to run her license through his system. As he did, another patrol car passed by, and its occupants slowed to observe. The unfolding scene was drawing attention from passers-by. Erica could feel the weight of their gazes, but she remained focused. After a few minutes, Tim returned, his skepticism giving way to irritation. "Everything seems to check out," he said grudgingly, "but I'm going to need you to step out of the vehicle for further questioning." Erica's heart sank momentarily. She knew this wasn't standard procedure. "Step out? May I ask why, officer?" Tim's expression hardened. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be," he said. Erica took a moment to gather herself. She could feel the tension building in the air. Slowly, she unbuckled her seatbelt and stepped out of the car, her dignified presence unshaken. Tim began to ask more intrusive questions, his tone laced with suspicion. Passers-by began to take notice. A few discreetly pulled out their phones to record the scene, sensing that something was off. Erica saw their concern but stayed focused on handling the situation with grace and integrity. As the questioning continued, Tim's attitude grew increasingly aggressive, clearly aimed at intimidating Erica, but Erica stood firm. She knew the truth would prevail, and her confidence in herself and the justice system would soon turn the tide. The stage was set for a moment that would leave everyone watching in awe. Erica Matthews stood outside her luxury sedan, her calm demeanor contrasting sharply with Officer Tim Hargrove's increasingly aggressive attitude. The situation had gone from confusing to outright invasive. Passers-by lingered at a distance, their curiosity growing as they observed the interaction. Some whispered amongst themselves, and a few quietly began recording the scene on their phones. Tim took a step closer, his towering frame attempting to assert dominance. "You say this car is yours. Do you have proof of purchase?" he demanded, his tone dismissive and accusatory. Erica raised an eyebrow, but maintained her composure. "Officer, the registration and license you already checked confirm that this vehicle is mine. What exactly are you looking for?" she asked, her voice steady but with an edge of authority. Tim hesitated for a moment, his irritation mounting. "I'm just doing my job. You look suspicious driving a car like this. It's unusual, to say the least." The weight of his words hung in the air, thick with insinuation. Erica felt her pulse quicken but refused to let it show. She had spent years dealing with biases, subtle and overt, but this felt like an attack on her dignity. "I'd like to remind you, officer," Erica said firmly, "that looking suspicious is not a crime. If I have broken any law, I would appreciate you stating it clearly. Otherwise, this line of questioning seems unwarranted." Tim's jaw tightened. He wasn't used to being challenged, especially not by someone he assumed he could intimidate. He stepped closer, pointing his finger toward her. "Are you questioning my authority? Because that's not a wise move." The tension escalated further as Tim reached for his radio, calling in backup. Erica's heart sank at the thought of the situation spiraling out of of control. She glanced around and noticed a small crowd forming, their expressions ranging from concern to quiet outrage. Among the crowd, a young woman spoke up. "Why is he treating her like that? She hasn't done anything wrong," she said to those around her. Another man added, "She's handling this better than most would. He's out of line." Tim ignored the murmurs, his focus solely on asserting control over the situation. "Step to the back of the car," he ordered Erica. "I need to search your vehicle." Erica's eyes widened slightly. "A search? On what grounds?" she asked, her voice unwavering despite the absurdity of the request. "I have reason to believe this car might be linked to illegal activities," Tim stated, his tone mechanical but lacking conviction. Erica knew this was baseless, another attempt to demean her. She raised her hand slightly, signaling to the growing crowd that she was still in control. "Officer," she said calmly, "you have no probable cause to search my vehicle. I know my rights, and I will not consent to an unlawful search." Tim's face flushed with anger. "You think you're above the law, don't you? People like you always think they can outsmart us," he spat. The crowd gasped at the blatantly discriminatory remark. Erica felt a surge of emotion but kept her voice steady. "I do not think I am above the law. In fact, I uphold it every day in my profession, but I also know when it's being misused," Tim sneered. "Oh, and what exactly is your profession? Let me guess. Something that involves lying your way through loopholes?" Before Erica could respond, a sharp voice cut through the air. "That's enough, officer." The crowd turned to see another figure approaching. Sergeant Davis, Tim's superior. Dressed in full uniform, he walked briskly toward the scene, his eyes scanning the situation with a mix of disapproval and authority. "What is going on here?" Tim stammered, caught off guard by the sudden intervention. "Sergeant, this woman, I was just following protocol," he said, his tone defensive. Sergeant Davis's gaze shifted to Erica, who met his eyes with quiet confidence. "Ma'am, I apologize for any inconvenience. May I ask your name?" Erica nodded and replied, "My name is Erica Matthews. I am a judge at the county courthouse." A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Even Tim seemed momentarily stunned, his bravado faltering. Sergeant Davis's expression softened with recognition. "Judge Matthews, I am so sorry for this misunderstanding. You should not have been subjected to this treatment." Erica didn't gloat or lash out. Instead, she looked at Tim, her gaze firm but not cruel. "Sergeant, I appreciate your intervention. However, I think it's important to address the conduct that led to this moment. It's not about who I am. It's about how people are treated based on assumptions." The crowd murmured in agreement. Tim's face turned pale, realizing the gravity of his actions. He took a step back, avoiding Erica's gaze. Sergeant Davis nodded solemnly. "You're absolutely right, Judge. I assure you this matter will be addressed immediately." As the tension began to dissipate, Erica turned to the crowd. "Thank you for your support," she said, her voice carrying a warmth that contrasted the hostility of moments earlier. The crowd began to disperse, but the incident left a lasting impression on everyone who witnessed it. Tim, visibly shaken, knew his actions would have consequences far beyond this day. The situation outside Erica Matthews' car had reached a boiling point. The murmurs of the crowd grew louder, and the tension in the air was palpable. Erica remained calm, though she felt the weight of the moment. She understood that this was no longer just about her. It was about standing up against injustice for everyone who had been in her position. Officer Tim Hargrove stood rigid, his demeanor growing defensive as he realized he was losing control of the situation. The arrival of Sergeant Davis had already thrown him off balance, but what happened next was entirely unexpected. From the edge of the crowd, a tall, commanding figure emerged. Erica's husband, Victor Matthews. He walked with purpose, his sharp suit and confident posture drawing immediate attention. Victor's expression was firm, his eyes locked on Erica, silently asking if she was all right. The crowd parted as he approached, murmuring in curiosity. "Who is that?" someone asked. "He looks like he means business," another whispered. Tim's gaze shifted to Victor, and his irritation was clear. "And who are you supposed to be?" he asked, his tone dismissive. Victor stopped just short of Tim and replied in a measured tone, "I am Victor Matthews, Erica's husband, and also the chief district attorney for this state." The crowd gasped in unison. The weight of Victor's title was unmistakable. Tim's face turned pale, and he stammered, "District Attorney?" Victor's expression remained steady. "Yes, and I would like to understand why my wife, a respected judge, is being treated in such a manner," he said, his voice calm but carrying an unmistakable authority. Tim stumbled over his words, trying to justify his actions. I thought she was acting suspiciously. Just doing my job." Victor's eyes narrowed. "Suspiciously? Driving her own car, with valid documents? Tell me, officer, do you apply this level of scrutiny to everyone, or only to certain individuals?" Sergeant Davis intervened, clearly uncomfortable with how things had unfolded. "Mr. Matthews, I deeply regret what has happened here. This is not how we conduct ourselves, and I will ensure this is handled appropriately." Victor nodded but turned his attention back to Tim. "Do you realize the gravity of your actions? You accused my wife of wrongdoing without cause. You escalated the situation unnecessarily. This isn't just poor judgment, it's a violation of the trust placed in you as an officer of the law." Tim looked down, unable to meet Victor's piercing gaze. The crowd murmured in agreement, their initial curiosity giving way to quiet outrage. Erica stepped forward, standing beside Victor. Her voice was steady as she addressed Tim. "I hope you take this moment to reflect. It's not about me being a judge or my husband being the district attorney. It's about treating every individual with respect, regardless of who they are or what they look like." The crowd erupted in applause, their support for Erica and Victor's stance clear. Tim's face flushed with shame as he realized the extent of his mistake. One of the onlookers, an older woman, stepped forward and said, "It's people like you," pointing to Erica and Victor, "who give us hope that justice still matters." Victor turned to the woman and nodded, his expression softening. "Thank you, but it's up to all of us to ensure this kind of behavior is not tolerated." Sergeant Davis sighed deeply and addressed Tim. "Officer Hargrove, you're relieved of duty effective immediately. There will be an internal investigation into your conduct." Tim opened his mouth to protest but stopped, realizing there was no defense for his actions. He nodded silently and walked away, his posture defeated. As the crowd began to disperse, Erica and Victor stood together, their calm yet firm response to the situation leaving a lasting impression on everyone present. Erica looked at Victor and said softly, "Thank you for showing up when it mattered." Victor smiled and replied, "Always." This unexpected turn not only highlighted the injustice of the moment, but also reminded everyone that standing up for what is right can lead to meaningful change. The story of Erica Matthews, the black judge stopped and harassed by Officer Tim Hargrove, spread like wildfire. Within hours, footage captured by a witness hit social media platforms, racking up thousands of views. People from all over the world were shocked at the blatant racial profiling, and outrage grew with each passing moment. The video was shared across news channels, sparking debates about discrimination and misuse of authority. Talk shows featured legal experts discussing the implications of what had happened, with many highlighting Erica's calm and dignified response as an example of grace under pressure. "She's not just a victim," one commentator noted. "She's a symbol of resilience." As the backlash intensified, protests began forming outside the local police department. Signs reading "Justice for All" and "End Racial Profiling" filled the streets. The community, united by anger and determination, demanded accountability not only for Officer Hargrove's actions, but also for systemic issues that allowed such behavior to persist. Among the protesters were individuals who had their own stories to tell. A young man stepped forward to share his experience of being wrongfully detained by the same officer. "He treated me like I was less than human," he said, his voice shaking. "But seeing Erica stand tall gives me hope." As more victims came forward, the police department was forced to respond. The chief of police issued a public statement acknowledging the incident and announcing that Officer Hargrove had been placed on administrative leave pending an internal investigation. "We are committed to transparency and fairness," the chief said. However, the statement did little to quell the public's anger. Sergeant Davis, who had intervened during the incident, also addressed the media. "I deeply regret that this happened on my watch," he said. "This is not the kind of department we want to be. We are taking steps to ensure this does not happen again." The pressure mounted as national organizations took notice. Civil rights groups called for broader reforms, citing the incident as a glaring example of systemic inequality. Prominent figures and celebrities weighed in on social media, amplifying the message. "This isn't just about one officer," one tweet read. "It's about changing the whole system." Erica, meanwhile, chose to use her platform to advocate for change. She agreed to an exclusive interview with a respected journalist, where she detailed her experience. "What happened to me was unacceptable," she said. "But this isn't just my story. It's the story of so many others who don't have the privilege of being heard. We need to address the root causes of these issues." Her words resonated deeply with the public. Clips from the interview were shared widely, and people praised her for turning a moment of injustice into a call for action. One comment under the video summed up the sentiment: "Erica Matthews is a hero. We need more leaders like her." At the same time, Victor Matthews, Erica's husband and the state's chief district attorney, held a press conference. "This is not just a legal issue, it's a moral one," he said firmly. "We cannot allow prejudice to dictate how we treat one another. I will personally ensure that justice is served." The public's reaction to Victor's words was overwhelmingly positive. Many saw the Matthews family as a beacon of hope and a reminder that change was possible. "They're fighting for all of us," one supporter said at a rally. As the days went on, the protests continued to grow, drawing people from all walks of life. Local businesses and community leaders joined in, offering support and resources to sustain the movement. The message was clear: the community would not rest until real change was achieved. The police department, facing immense scrutiny, announced a series of reforms. These included mandatory training on racial bias, the establishment of a citizen oversight board, and a thorough review of all officers' records. The chief of police promised, "This is just the beginning. We are committed to earning back the trust of the community." Despite these measures, the public remained vigilant. "We've heard promises before," one protester said. "This time, we need to see results." Erica's story had become more than an isolated incident. It was now a catalyst for a broader movement. People across the country were inspired by her strength and determination. Social media campaigns used hashtags like #JusticeForErica and #EndRacial Profiling, keeping the conversation alive. Erica and Victor continued to play an active role in the movement, attending rallies and speaking to lawmakers. Their efforts inspired others to step up and demand change in their own communities. "This isn't just about my family," Erica said at a town hall meeting. "This is about creating a better future for everyone." The public backlash against Officer Hargrove's actions had grown into a powerful force for change. It was a reminder that when people come together to stand against injustice, their voices can make a difference. The protests sparked by Erica Matthews's encounter with Officer Tim Hargrove gained momentum, pressuring the officer to request a public meeting with her. Erica agreed, but insisted it be held publicly to ensure accountability. At the community center, Hargrove admitted his wrongdoing, expressing deep regret. "I let my biases cloud my judgment," he said, his voice heavy with remorse. Erica listened calmly and responded, "Acknowledging your mistake is the first step, but words must be backed by action. What will you do to ensure this never happens again?" Hargrove committed to racial bias training and advocating for police reform. While some doubted his sincerity, it marked the beginning of his redemption. Erica used the moment to push for systemic change. She worked with leaders to create bias training programs, community policing initiatives, and open forums for residents to share experiences. Her husband, Victor Matthews, the state's chief district attorney, pushed for laws to address racial profiling and improve police accountability. Together, they launched the Justice for All initiative, a foundation offering legal aid and advocacy programs to empower marginalized communities. Hargrove followed through on his promises, attending training, speaking about his mistakes, and volunteering at community events. While his actions could not undo the harm, they showed a sincere effort to grow. "I will spend the rest of my career making things right," he said during a town hall meeting. The Matthews family's efforts transformed the town, inspiring national conversations about justice and equality. Police departments adopted new accountability policies, neighbors collaborated on community projects, and schools taught tolerance. Reflecting on the journey, Erica said, "This is just the beginning. Together, we can create a world where everyone is treated with respect, Her resilience turned a moment of injustice into a movement for change, inspiring countless others to fight for fairness and dignity. Let me know if you'd like further adjustments. The incident between Erica Matthews and Officer Tim Hargrove became a defining moment for the town. Erica's courage to stand up for herself and her relentless pursuit of justice transformed not just her life, but also her community. As the story spread nationwide, it inspired people from all walks of life to challenge prejudice and push for change. In a heartfelt interview with a national news channel, Erica shared her thoughts. "This wasn't just about me. It was about everyone who has ever felt powerless in the face of injustice. Together, we showed that unity and determination can create real change." She emphasized the importance of forgiveness while holding systems accountable. The Matthews family's foundation, the Justice for All initiative, continued to thrive, offering legal aid, scholarships, and hosting town halls on racial equality. Erica's husband, Victor, remained a driving force behind legislative changes, ensuring that no one else would endure what his wife faced. The town itself was unrecognizable. Police-community relations improved through open dialogues and workshops. Schools integrated lessons on inclusion and respect. Local leaders worked with residents to address inequality, ensuring that the movement Erica started endured. As for Officer Hargrove, his transformation inspired others. He continued his work with marginalized communities and became a vocal advocate for reform, proving that even those who make grave mistakes can change for the better. Reflecting on the journey, Erica addressed her supporters. "This is proof that a single voice can spark a movement. Never let fear silence you. Stand up, speak out, and remember that change is always possible." The story ends with a message of hope and unity. What would you do in Erica's position? Would you fight for justice or stay silent? Share your thoughts in the comments. And do not forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this one. Together, we can create a world where justice and equality prevail.